from Atlanta. I got over here last night. So the Braves playing down in Miami beat the Marlins last night. So that's good. Braves are 9-5.
You were at a baseball game?
No, we're not. In fact, I'd like to go. I've got to check the Braves schedule and see if while we're here in Atlanta, we can go to a Braves game. 0.97 miles. That's the walk from the Battery, from there to Mallory's house here to see Tyler and Chandler. And I think baseball starts really mixing in with our market. Of course, we've got on the western flank the St. Louis Cardinals, who've been struggling for a few years. On the eastern flank, it's Braves country. Down south, we've got the Rays. Not really, I don't know about the Marlins, but I know we got a lot of people that follow the Rays, like your dad and you probably. Yeah.
Well. No, I don't. I hate baseball. That's my problem.
Well, it's more fun to be there than it is to watch it on TV. You and I both know.
That's like a hockey thing. I got know, but I mean now football's different. I'll watch football on TV and I'll go to the football game.
Oh, there's nothing like.
And speaking of football, spring practice is in full swing. Lots of people report Gators had theirs on Saturday.
8 spring games Saturday.
I know it. And we need to be talking about it because this week we also launch our SECU and be having our first Texas-Oklahoma conversation. You and Buddy Martin, as special guest, will be dropping that and posting that as just a regular video that we'll upload. But hey, hit the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner and get your pen and paper. Right, Rob?
Pen and paper handy. Order before midnight. Only $19.95.
And remember, I'm broadcasting live from here in the horse capital of the world.
Absolutely, it is. It's because of the limestone, is more.
And the Derby's around the corner.
Yeah, coming up May. Oh wow, May the 4th. I think it comes up. Yeah, May 4th.
And Masters. Did you watch the end? Did you
watch the Masters? Yes, Scotty Scheffler won second time in 3 years. That was pretty cool. A lot of tradition. Reminds us in the South why we love it. It's a lot like college football. All right,
it is.
Allow notifications on your Android or iPhone device, okay? And watch it on your laptop, and you can sync Sidelines.
And by the way, and we also have a pretty good viewership on Facebook Live. So if you're watching us on that, great, welcome. Just hit the follow button on the upstairs. You'll hit the follow button, and you will get notifications when we go live there as well. And if you're interested in that, that is at Sidelines. You go to at Sidelines on Facebook. You'll see the show logo, and that is it. All right.
Got a good one. Get ready, because hey,
who's on today? By the way,
we got Doug Dean going to be checking in from Birmingham in just a minute. Franz Beard going to have some fun discussions about spring practice, college football, what's going on. I've got some interesting insight from the more people I talk to. Fear not, people. College sports are not ruined. The free market. I believe in the free market. It will work this stuff out. Think about it.
Record-breaking crowd in the Swamp this weekend for the game, more than we ever had for a spring game.
And that's hard to do nowadays because the big, monster crowds, people are kind of like, well, they don't do anything, but it's a good show of force that you back the pro. And I believe, I was listening to Allie Peak Wilbur on her podcast the other day about you got to give coaches this microwave society. It's exactly why you wander in the wilderness for decades if you're not careful. Look what happened to Tennessee after Philip Fulmer. You've got to give coaches time. We're going to talk about that today. Here we come, folks.
Here we go.
You.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you. We're broadcasting from Atlanta again, right by the Battery. And the more that we look around at what's going on in college football right now, the more you say, well, transfer. Guys have always been transferring. This is nothing new. And for whatever reason, everybody always likes to say, what's happening now is the worst it's ever been. This is just a blip on the radar in the big picture. And you got to get smart, intelligent people involved on your show that can kind of cut through all this nonsense and put it in the vernacular, in perspective. Doug B. Dean from Birmingham.
He's trying.
Yeah, will be on with us in a minute. And Doug,
is he in his car?
Yeah, I'm not sure. But we're going to talk. We're going to talk about it. But what's happening? You look at what's going on with coaching search. These fans, they love to talk the big tough. Gordon Gekko and Wall Street.
Oh yeah.
You don't want a friend? Get a dog. We got to give the coach 2 years. He's out of here. You're an idiot. You know nothing about running a business or anything. You try building a show. Try building a podcast. Try building anything. It takes an inordinate amount of work. Work beyond what you know. And, we got to get rid of that coach. I'd love to take a look at these people's personal lives and their businesses, where they rank on the sales ladder for production. Yet they're all about, we got to get rid of this coach. I don't know Billy Napier's, I don't know what is every move, but he's won everywhere. He won 41 games in 4 years at University of Louisiana. You got to think about what a coach has to deal with in today's world. Sure, they get paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
But think about the week after the Florida State-Florida game, or Auburn, Alabama, or Georgia Tech. You've then got to re-recruit your current team. Then they open up the damn portal window. Then you got guys with their hands out wanting to redo their NIL deals, playing let's make a deal. Okay?
Sure.
Then you got to get ready for a bowl game. I forgot, early signing date in December, like around the 20th. So you've got to, and that's where about February.
Portal opens, transfer portal closes.
Yeah. It opens up. Yeah. Well, it opens like December 5th and it closes in early January. But transfer portal, re-recruit your team, NIL, early signing day, and get ready for a bowl. Okay.
Now, but you do have a lot of help.
Yeah, I agree. And I like Dave Cody out in Bellingham, Washington. Longtime sports anchor, Channel 7 in Austin, Texas, 35 years. God, he knows Texas. He knows media. He knows sports. He's right. Got rid of Harsin. Best thing Auburn ever did. You cannot bring in a coach. Harsin didn't like to recruit. He thought, I can outsmart Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, and all these guys. Really? That's like bringing a chef in to a 5-star restaurant who doesn't like to cook. You got to be kidding me, people.
Who doesn't want a Michelin star?
Yes, it's a Michelin. It's not the Michelin tire star.
It's the Michelin star.
Where's your damn ascot, Brendan?
No, I have. Look at this.
There you go. Hey,
classing it up.
I like my thing I got here yesterday. Ooh. Huck. I got this. You know where I got this?
It makes you look all like buff too.
Oh no, I got it at Buc-ee's though yesterday, and I was looking for something that wasn't hot.
Doug keeps trying to roll in here. We're gonna try him again. See if it works. Yeah, but I don't see him, but maybe we can hear him. Doug, are you with us? Doug,
I hear you.
All right, good. Yeah, we can. That's fine. Just go audio only.
Yeah, audio until we can get to video. We want to hear from Doug Dean. Doug, look, morning traffic in Birmingham. It's brutal. I've spent 2 hours moving 2 miles going over the mountain if I hit it the wrong way on a Friday afternoon on a football weekend. But a lot happening. Spring practice, they wrapped up at Auburn last week. We had 8 spring games Saturday. I want to get your thoughts specifically about Auburn, because I'm harder on Auburn than I am any other school because that's my alma mater. But I'm sensing some movement on the upside at Auburn, which has got me really, really believing that year 2 under Hugh Freeze will show substantial improvement.
It is. I don't want to equivocate or make it sound like I'm waffling, but this time of year, not just analysts like you and Brendan and everybody that comes on your show, but fans, we are so vulnerable to the confirmation bias from the field of psychology. We hear what we want to hear. We go to an 8-day game and see what we want to see. But so let's try to dial it back with, discount some for hype and the fact that it's so damn hard to read much into 8-day games, because the 8-day game, by the way, is about to go the way of the dodo bird.
Yeah.
If you studied that creature, Rob. And I just don't see fans are marginally interested unless they yell "Roll Tide" and they're going to pack Bryant Denny. I mean, I think you could have a bowling tournament there, and they would show up. And to their credit, but I just don't think it's creating fan interest. And the coaches are partly to blame, players are partly to blame, because it is more about not getting injured than it is about getting better. And so, but to give you a thumbnail and you can react, and we'll go from there. I think there's every reason, based on a couple of positions that have been there's no question they've been improved. There's no question that the wide receiver room is going to border on elite with Perry Thompson and especially Cam Coleman. That your eyes are not lying to you when you watch him in practice and in A-Day. He just brings a whole nother dimension to it. And they've improved with several other portal gets. Rivaldo Fairweather comes back ready to go. We know what he could do last year. I think you can count on him being about 20% better just because he's been in the program a year. And then they've made some improvements at O-line, but that will be a developmental thing for a couple of games. Defensive front is turning out to be a pleasant surprise where it was thought as a weakness. The pleasant surprise, oddly enough, is coming from incoming freshmen who are just that good. So, again, you need to give them several games to get acclimated. But then the last thing I would say for the people who want to lean optimistic, for Auburn to move the ceiling from 7 games to 8, potentially 9 wins, if you look at the schedule, and that would presume beating Oklahoma in Oklahoma's first ever trip into the SEC road gauntlet out of all places, Jordan-Hare Stadium. But the coaches that Hugh Freeze has changed might be the biggest reason to lean optimistic, not to go 11 wins regular season, but to increase the ceiling, to see improvement where they can get to 8 and be knocking on the door of 9 wins this coming fall.
Yeah, Doug, last year you were right. You were looking your numbers, 7 or 8 wins, you felt good, maybe even 9. But if you think about the losses that Auburn had, the Georgia loss, the Alabama loss, the New Mexico State loss, all those games Auburn was in. Well, New Mexico State was an anomaly, but Georgia and Alabama, with a talent gap that's the widest it's been in over 40 years, Auburn played those teams down to the wire with better offensive line play. And Jason Caldwell talks about when Freeze took over, there were maybe 2 SEC caliber offensive linemen on the roster at Auburn. Now he thinks there's a dozen. That's a big deal, isn't it?
Oh, hugely. Because and then you have to add to it what we don't know. We won't be able to answer this. I'm sorry, but the way they practice in spring, which is almost always base offense, base defense, it's vanilla. They're developing fundamentals. We won't know, but if you believe that Peyton Thorne was not inherently just an average quarterback when he played great competition, but that some of it was causal. It was causal because he didn't have wide receivers that could run a route and get separation. If it's at least 10 or 20% that he didn't get help from receivers, which will make any quarterback look mediocre, then you got to figure Peyton Thorne's confidence will, and he's going to be the guy. No one else is really threatening him so far. That can change in August, but I don't expect it to unless Thorne has an injury. So I think when you see those receivers really get calibrated and polished as we head into fall camp, there's every reason with this first 4 games are winnable. Now, you can argue the 4th one, which is Arkansas, but it's in Jordan-Hare. In the first 3 games, you've got an opportunity to polish things. And I think we'll know pretty quickly, is this a new Peyton Thorne with the balance that we bring in the running back room, tight end, and wide receiver, with good protection, we think, on an offensive line? Or is it same old Peyton? If it is, then Hugh Freeze better be working the portal hard for 2025.
Well, Peyton Thorne, we all know what happened in 2021. 15 transfer portal guys came in to Michigan State. Kenneth Walker III, running back, was a huge difference maker coming out of Wake Forest. Arlington, Tennessee, Shelby County, where I'm from, that's where he came from out of high school. But last year, you're right. I absolutely believe what you said. It was causal. Peyton Thorne's running for his life. Let's talk about that wide receiver room at Auburn. Not just the kids that Auburn signed out of high school this year, but Robert Lewis and Samuel L.V. Jackson V, who was a quarterback at Cal last year. I like his maturity. I like his brain. He goes, it's I catch on pretty quickly because I understand how to work a playbook and all as a quarterback. But that receiver room, and not to mention the running back room where Auburn's got a lot of depth, is another reason for optimism.
Yeah, Lewis, Jason Caldwell will give your listeners a more detailed, granular peek at each of these players you name. But I do know a couple of things that fascinate me about Lewis, that he is proving to have the leadership chops when they're, competing in scrimmages, to the point where he will go over to the wide receivers coach or offensive coordinator and tell them, hey, I saw this. What do you think? And to have a guy like that with some maturity from actual games played at Georgia Tech, which is respectable. That's ACC, as plays real football. And then you mentioned Samuel Jackson. He's a fascinating player because he's just a freak athletically. And as some will know, not everyone, he was a high school teammate of Peyton Thorne. And I don't think that ever hurts. As long as they got along, one of them didn't steal the other's girlfriend or something, then you like that. And he's turning heads at that receiver position. And I wouldn't be shocked as the season progresses. You might see a guy like Jackson get an opportunity at return or punt or kickoff return. And I can't believe, Rob, you hadn't talked about the deepest, best field goal kicker room in the country at Auburn University.
Hey, Towns Magoo is.
Are you kidding?
Come on. What
Mr. Magoo.
Mr. Magoo. I mean, he's a lifelong dream. Kid lives from Auburn High School. And ironically, McPherson is out with like a hamstring injury. So they said, well, you just recover. You were 13 of 13 last year. I don't know what else we could ask you to do. And Towns Magoo comes in. Nobody has a deeper kicking room than Auburn. I'm talking about field goal kickers, not to mention Oscar Chapman in his 12th year at Auburn as the punter.
Yeah, and let me tip my hat to Coach Saban, which we'll continue to do for years to come, won't we? But he adapts. And I think for a period of his early tenure at Alabama, and they were certainly winning big starting in 2009, and they didn't slow down much after that. A bad season became one loss, one or two critical losses. Yeah. But and we should all be so lucky. But it seemed that he would do the walk-on tryouts approach to place kicking, and you figure out as a head coach at some point, you know what, we're in the SEC. I don't care how stacked our roster is. We're probably going to be playing in some down to the wire games. Putting it mildly, that kick six game was down to the wire, and a kicker that had Towns Magoo's leg, maybe that 57-yarder goes through and we never get to talk about a kick six game. But I noticed that Saban started burning a scholarship to bring the most elite kickers in, and they had one last year for sure. So I think if you're Auburn, when we have been in a position of having to play more close games in the league than not, I think you almost have to go out and make sure you've got a great field goal kicker who you can rely on inside 50, and ideally he's got a 50-50 shot from 55 out to 60 yards. And that Magoo kick to win the A-Day scrimmage, people there said it had a chance from maybe 68 yards.
Yeah. And Doug, I'm curious, and you could probably ask someone who does physics and mechanical engineering or something, but how are we getting these kicks further and further I mean, 63, 64, Tom Dempsey, that mark stood for a long, long time. But you're seeing this more and more. And Will Reichard at Alabama finished his career as the SEC's all-time leading scorer. He passed former Auburn kicker Daniel Carlson to do that. But you're right. I just don't understand why every school doesn't devote a scholarship or two to the kicking game. It's a third of every game.
Yeah, how is it getting, the equipment hadn't really changed. I don't think they're inflating the balls harder for a kicker. If that's going on, they'll eventually report it and figure it out and maybe enforce something. I don't think that's at work at all. I must conclude that the great game of soccer is developing the leg speed and just the form and physical impact. It's like club head speed when you're playing golf, I'm sure. And so I think the really elite kickers, and there's not 30 of them. Usually there's less than 5 or 10 every year. Maybe Brendan can report on that here too. But there's some of them that it's not hard to find out what are they averaging, their ability to kick. Put them on the practice field and see what it looks like. And then the ones that, besides leg strength, the ones that really command the NIL dollars and eventually NFL draft are those who can consistently kick it pretty straight and not have the yips like you see with some kickers.
Yeah, and maybe they're going to places like the Vitamin Shop, one of our sponsors, in Olive Branch, in Oxford, Mississippi, and getting probiotics and pre-workout supplements and all, like shot blocks and goo. And they really are two great locations. Check them out on the screen. There you are, open Monday through Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sundays, 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. And there's something going on, Doug, in college football that I see right now. And in your thoughts, you look at defense. Look, DJ Durkin at Auburn. What do you like in a coordinator? One who teaches wait and react, or just be instinctive because we've drilled it down in your heads every day in practice? Because I like what I'm seeing out of Durkin.
Well, what the book on Durkin coming out of practice is, if he had any eligibility, Rob, he could probably give you a snap or two. He is in great physical shape. He's younger than people realize. And he is at practice. He is running full sprint and playing wide receiver to teach his concepts. So he's very physical, very energetic, active. He is not shy about getting in the face of a player who is repeatedly not listening, not playing his assignment. And I think, that how you coach players, I think nowadays coaches have to adjust. It's not one size fits all. They have to get to know their players, communicate one-on-one, observe them. And some can take tough coaching and you give them that. Some you have to take a little different approach so they don't get disheartened and lose their confidence. But I think between Durkin and that whole defensive brain trust, Hugh Freeze is not going to have to worry about that side of the ball, except in big games. If somebody says, I think I'll only rush 2 on this 4th and 31, Hugh will probably intervene.
Yeah. And you know what? I agree with you about Durkin. There's two kinds of coaches, the ones that stand back and watch, or the ones that get down in the grass. That's DJ Durkin. And also, you've got to spend more time now with your players as much as you can, so it's harder for them to leave you. I heard that great quote last week, Doug, about from Oliver White, 1,000 casts. The risk of loving something so much is that you could lose it. But you've got your players there, and with every day in practice, obviously you're spending a lot of time with them, but off the field after practice, think about the great like in business, in your business, you deal with a lot of employees. You get to know them. It's harder to tell your boss you're leaving when you're close to them. If you don't know them, I think it's easy. I like what you said about DJ Durkin. And another one that I've watched since high school, he was at Brentwood Academy, is Kent Austin. I think that's not getting enough attention. And Derek Nix, what does Freeze say? We put the band back together. Led Zeppelin turned down $800 million. Freeze did it for less than $5 million.
To me, it's not that Philip Montgomery or Roberts were bad coordinators last year. They both have good resumes and did some nice things as the season progressed. And we need to remember that there was a lot of just reclamation and cleanup of bad habits, and having guys in there that transferred in the portal that really didn't give a crap. And so that, how do you adjust for that? Probably accounts for the New Mexico State loss, along with you taking his eye off the ball, recruiting instead of game planning. But I think now the word I hear from people like Jason Caldwell and others who are there all the time is that Freeze appears to be extremely comfortable with his brain trust on both sides of the ball. And I think that the fact that he spent so much time hand in glove with Derek Nix at Ole Miss, and as you said, Ken Austin will fit right in with those guys. I'm excited to see how big a step this offense can make, because I don't, except for the question marks about Peyton Thorne, which are legit, I don't feel worried really about any other position group on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah. And like we talked about the offensive line, you know, Connor Lew is going to be a name people will remember for a long time. And you knew it from the start. And then you're moving some guys around, Dylan Wade, Xavier Miller. I like the big guy Ellis from Mississippi State. Why, you know, hey, every year I had a new coach. I figured, why not go to a better program, as he said. But that part on the offensive line, that's the best thing if you're an Auburn follower, fan, is the offensive line. Because without it, Doug, nothing happens.
Yeah, you know, there were it's hard to remember and hard to believe that the production we got out of Connor Lew at the center position yet last year, once he took over, that he was a true freshman. So imagine the step he can make as a leader and physically this year. And again, we appear to be underappreciated, Rob and Brendan, with this Auburn O-line, is that Auburn is signing and recruiting tackles. Plenty. We went, it's as if we wandered through the desert under Gus for 5 or 10 years, unable to sign a tackle, and we'd have guards trying to play tackle, and you need length and good feet to play. So if you can load up on tackles, the ones that don't work out end up making great guards. So I think we're legitimately too deep, and if you have a couple of injuries, there won't be abject panic down on the plains.
Yeah, and Brendan, you know, we're talking about, and you heard me, Doug, earlier in the show. I was listening to Allie Peak Wilbur, who does a great podcast on Florida, and she's on the Buddy Martin show, and I've had her on. This mentality,
she's on YouTube as well. If you check her out, she's great.
Yeah, this mentality of, you know, the coaches and a lot of this tough guy Gordon Gekko talk. You know, 2 years in, get rid of him. It's absolute nonsense. How many young doctors come into their profession, and it takes a long time to. I was with a 92-year-old doctor in Little Rock at a meeting the other day, and he goes, I'm ashamed to admit I'm in medicine for the way these young people today, they don't understand the commitment. Well, somebody's got to, but see, someone like him can take the time to teach them what it takes. I think we're crazy what we're doing with coaches nowadays, aren't we?
We are. And, you know, pivoting from football, it's not that Mark Pope, who's a proud Kentucky Wildcat alum, may not turn out to be the next Danny Hurley for all I know.
Yeah.
But you have to be objective if you're a Wildcat fan, and most fans won't be objective, including Auburn, Alabama, you name it. But there is nothing on paper since Mark Pope has been coaching to pretend that he's going to mop the floor with everybody. He has not won a single March Madness game. He's only taken BYU to the tournament twice, bowing out in the first round. And of course, an Auburn fan should not be too hard on that point after a few weeks ago losing to Yale. But it's just, be careful, fans, what you ask for, wanting change at the top, because when you start introducing disruption and you think you're going to get Billy Donovan, you think just because you're Kentucky, you're going to get the next coming of Danny Hurley or Coach K. There's no guarantees. And there's a lot of reasons the best coaches want no part of college right now. And we rant about it to the point of being sick of it. The behavioral and attitudinal change of NIL and the portal is difficult to manage.
It really is. And look, Doug, stay on with us if you can. This is great stuff. I want to, and Brendan, you know, Florida had their spring game over the weekend. Big crowd out there. What's that telling you?
Well, I was just sitting here as Doug's talking, and I'm thinking about how, as Florida has lived, through this for the last decade, since Dan Mullen and, on and on and on, it's been, the coaching carousel is awful. And, having to navigate what they have to navigate now is, probably next to impossible in a lot of ways. And I think, as a lot of coaches say, it takes a lot of luck for it to, sort of transpire. But seeing 48K in the swamp, which is, I'm almost 100% sure that's the most ever for a spring game in the swamp, means that people are still excited and the fan base is still there after this decade. That it's, and they're excited about Billy Napier, and they're excited. I think a lot of people wanted to see DJ Lagway, who kind of flipped the switch, during the game. And I'm sure Franz will talk more about it as I see him popping in right now. We'll bring in Mr. Franz Beard, but hello, Franz. How are you? Just talking about spring Gators. Why don't you, I was giving a quick analysis of what DJ Lagway did, and 48K in the swamp. Isn't that the most that's ever been in, Francis?
No, it is not. We had Urban Meyer's first year there. We had something like 55,000 is what they had.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I read that yesterday. Yeah.
Let me say something. Yeah, Doug, one more thing. When you think, what was the crowd at Auburn's A-Day game this year? I still hadn't seen it.
I didn't get a count. I know that it was underwhelming, and honestly, that doesn't bother me much. I tip my hat to the Gator fans who they're not coming off some national championship and showing up in droves like that. So that speaks well of that fan base, unless they brought the rapper Eminem or something that in there for a concert, and that explains the count, the seat count. I'm playing with y'all, Brendan. But no, I think the A-Day games are going the way of the dinosaur unless they reimagine how to make it far more interesting than it currently is.
Yeah. And Doug, look, thank you so much for taking time. And I think that's going to be by playing other teams in a real game in the spring. Thank you so much. Friends, that's where we're going. And Doug made a good point. Spring practice, these A-Day games and these big spring events that you've got, basically, it's not about getting better. It's about just not getting injured. And that's tough. That's very tough because, you've got, I know at Auburn, they start in late February. They go all of March, and they had their spring game April the 6th, I think it was. Yeah, April 6th. So that's a lot of time to be spent. And, they're really just, people don't know. If you want a big spring crowd, the coach has got to get out there and just implore the people to come. But what were the takeaways from the Gator spring game?
Well, now they ran purely vanilla. It was pure bluebell natural vanilla on the defense. No blitzing, no nothing. The first team offensive line is going to be really good. The second team offensive line will be better when Austin Barber and Cam Waits are healthy. They were not healthy Saturday. But I will say this, the young kids, Fletcher Westfall, Caden Jones are going to be good tackles. I think Florida's going to go into the portal tomorrow and try to pick up an interior offensive lineman like a Big Moose who can really play guard and can play either guard and have that experienced guy. Offensively, Eugene. Oh my gosh, Trey. Florida has got, I think, the future All-American wide receiver that we have not had here since the last one we had was a guy named Percy. He was pretty good.
Yeah.
Trey Wilson is the real deal, as Brendan can tell you. Last year he did not have spring, so he got here in the summer. He's learning on the offense on the fly, mostly drag patterns, mostly little dump passes, tunnel screens, easy stuff. He knows the offense now, and he showed it the other day. 8 catches, 128 yards, caught a 60-yard touchdown pass from Graham Mertz. That was a thing of beauty, as Brendan can affirm. I mean,
It was.
he made a move. I mean, he just broke the corner's ankles. Just makes his move, boom, gets wide open. Easy.
France, how much of that is Gonzalez? You know, like how much of that is really good coaching? Because we've been talking about really good coaching recently, but you know, you feel like that's just, you know, taking really good talent and molding them, because he was, I mean, we all knew he was good, but damn, that was good.
Billy Gonzalez is the best coach in the country for
I agree.
teaching route running,
I agree.
precision. You watch him in practice, Rob, and he'll get on these guys. He says, that is 9 steps, not 8.5, not 10. And because he understands the offense that if you run the route with precision, good things will happen.
Yes.
If you don't run the route with precision, dumb things happen. Mertz threw a pick only because Jameer DK fell down. Otherwise, that is a great throw into tight coverage, and it's a catch.
Well, let me ask you that, Franz, too. Sorry to interrupt, but how much of that is Billy Napier pushing Mertz to start, you know, making that decision instead of holding on? Less of a clean game, more of you know, more of
calculated
letting
risk.
it fly.
Calculated risk is what Graham calls it, and what it is confident. It's a matter of confidence in himself to make the throw, and confidence that he's got the guy. Now he made throws into tight coverage last year, but the thing about it is the only time he dared do it is when it was Ricky Pearsall on the other end, because he had to trust that receiver too. You have to have that confidence that the receiver will make the catch in a tight window. And how many guys have we seen over the years? And the three of us have seen a pretty good bit of football, but we see that guy that he sees that safety coming, and all of a sudden his hands kind of widen a little bit instead of tighten up around the football, etc., like that. Things like that were prevalent, let's just say, last year, except when Ricky Pearsall had the foot was the receiver. You can tell that Graham's got confidence in his receivers. DK is going to be really good. I predict this. We're going to have 5 wide receivers actively engaged in the rotation, and that is obviously Trey Wilson, number 1. Number 2, Jameer DK. Khalil Jackson will be there. Marcus Burke is going to be really, really good. He made a catch, shoe tops, that I didn't. A year ago, he wouldn't have tried to make it, but this time he's making it. Reminded me, you know what it reminded me of, guys? The immaculate reception by Franco Harris, running at full speed, reaching down, catching the ball at ankle high, and still going instead of diving down and trying to catch the ball. Had Marcus Burke tried to go down on the ground to catch the ball, it would have been about a 50-50 chance that he catches it, but that's the end of it. But this time, by catching it and showing that he can, showing the good hands, catching it and never losing stride, it ends up being about a 45-yard play.
Let me ask you about Lagway. The Texas quarterbacks in a typical year, out of 133 Division I football programs, you might see 20 or more Texas high school quarterbacks. And Lagway's a big guy. What does he do? What did y'all see out of him that you know in the spring that makes you think he could come in and be a complement to what Graham Mertz is doing?
Well, here's the thing, that he holds the ball too long. He was sacked 6. It was credited with 6 sacks, but some of that was the second team offensive line. But I think probably 4 of the 6 had to do with him holding the football too long, which is typical of a freshman. He's looking at coverages he's never seen. Now, he does throw off his front foot too, so the ball's going to sail on him occasionally. But the thing you got to admire about him is the ball comes from here to there like that. I mean, it is like
quick release.
It's like a second baseman on a double play.
Yeah, okay.
Ball comes in, boom, and it's gone. He's better right now throwing the ball on the roll, because when he's throwing the ball on a rollout, he doesn't have the ball doesn't sail on him. When he's throwing the ball in the pocket, he throws it a lot off his front foot.
All right, let me throw one at you too, friends. Here's another one for both of you. You talk about pop time. You know, the time it takes for the catcher to throw the ball to second base. You know, 1.6 is probably considered to be really good. You talk about he holds the ball too long. Is that mainly because it's taking him? He's adjusting right now to the speed of the college game versus what he saw in high school, albeit he saw some great high school football out in Texas. They put out more D1 players than any state in the country, 400 plus. But I would think it's more of a learning curve in it, because this guy looks like he has everything. But again, when you get there as a freshman, everything's going by real fast, isn't it?
Oh, he learns very, very fast. But I got to tell you guys, this kid still has a way to go as far as understanding defenses. Graham Mertz, who Billy Gonzalez says is one of the smartest football players he's ever been around. Now, think about some of the players that Billy Gonzalez has been around. Think about some of the wide receivers he's coached over the years, like Odell Beckham and Landry at LSU. Yeah. Like this Percy guy who was pretty good at Florida, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Out of Virginia Beach.
Yeah. So he has coached some really good ball players.
Yeah.
Billy's had a really good career.
Yeah. Well,
Billy says that Graham Mertz is one of the smartest guys he's ever been around in football. And it took Graham Mertz, Brendan, wouldn't you say, into the 6th or 7th game last year before you looked at him and he was really comfortable?
I would say game 6, game 7, game 7, you see him come around. I think so.
How many games did Mertz started? 27 games at Wisconsin?
32.
Before? Okay, 32. So, again, I know they play good football in the Big Ten. I'm not going to say they don't. They've got the national champion. Michigan does. But if you want to break it down in detail, they're skill players. A lot of their best athletes are from the Southern footprint. Always have been. But I just think that was the adjustment part of it. I mean, and I look at the SEC. Let's kind of bounce around and look. Who saw Missouri coming last year like what they did, winning 11 games? And we've got to get past this. But here's the conversation that we have right now when teams win bowl games. Yeah, they beat Ohio State, but I don't give a damn if a bunch of Ohio State guys quit their team and went to other schools. Missouri still dominated that game, 14-3, 14-6, something like that. Now you're bringing in, Chip Kelly up there. Good luck on that. Good luck trying to run that offense in the Big Ten, just like it didn't work in the NFL, despite us being told he was going to rewrite and make Bill Belichick look obsolete. If you can't run between the tackles in the NFL as a running back, you can't run. But let's think about what's going on in the SEC. Who do you see? We don't have divisions anymore, but for simpleness on this show, let's still use divisions. And I'll put, I would say I'd put Missouri, because Missouri and Texas are definitely in the West. But who are some teams that you think are going to make another big jump this year that most people aren't talking about yet?
I think Florida is going to shock everybody how good they are. The schedule, if you look at it, Florida, the only game that I think is really going to be a toss-up game of their first 6 is Tennessee. And we don't know yet how good Tennessee is going to be. I think Tennessee with Josh Heupel is going to be another 8-4 team. I just think that Josh Heupel, I think he had lightning in a bottle that first year, kind of like he had when he was at UCF that first year. Got to remember, he went undefeated into the Fiasco Bowl where he got to play LSU, and they lost barely. And then the next year, all of a sudden, boom, 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 downward.
Yeah.
This is year 3, and if the trend follows, which I think it will, there'll be another 8-4 team. Kentucky has real issues. Brock Vandegrift, as talented as he may seem on the scout team, he has yet to play significant snaps.
None. Really.
Vanderbilt's quarterback situation is such that Whit Muschamp could be in the rotation. Does that name sound familiar?
Yes. Will's son.
Will's son, exactly.
Yeah. Well, okay.
He's the youngest of them. But South Carolina, disaster this year. Let's go Mississippi State. They did pick up a running back with 1,200 yards yesterday. They're going to be better. They're going to be better than they were last year, but still not good. Ole Miss is going to. Ole Miss could win it all. Georgia could win it all. Alabama, it's still Alabama. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah. I think Hugh Freeze is going to have Auburn on the right track. I know you're still mad at him, Rob. That's okay. You can still be mad.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I just have a little PTSD.
You have it. You're mad. You're mad.
I'm mad as hell. No, here's the deal. I still, whoever signed off on that, and it's always on the head coach, you gave the game to Bama. And that's 2 straight Iron Bowls for Auburn. You've got to learn how to close out in football. But I do think Freeze. I am for my school before I'm for any coach, because that school is the one constant that will always be there. And I tell you, friends, I love what you're doing. Keep rolling, because you're talking about that Vandy situation. I don't know if the Skinner box will be complete or not. That's what my wife, B.F. Skinner, the great behavioral psychologist, that's what she called Vanderbilt's 26,000-seat stadium last year. It took us 45 minutes to get out of there after the Auburn game. B.F. Skinner. You remember it. Franz,
ring the bell. Oh, no, that's Pavlov. Pavlov's dog. Yeah, I got the wrong one.
Franz
Freudian slip. No, that's wrong.
Franz has got the shadow over him today. Looks like he's in the witness protection.
I know. I am, guys.
Got greasy. You got your lenses greasy.
I love Perry Mason. Franz is the man. By the way, Brendan's too young to know this, but Franz will know it. How many cases did Perry Mason ever lose on the Perry Mason show?
0.
1.
He lost 1.
And it was overturned by Hamilton Berger, the DA. It was overturned. So Hamilton Berger was winless against Perry Mason.
Right. Do you hear that sound, Rob? That's the sound of everyone switching the channel.
Come on. But I'm just saying. But I love Perry Mason, the viewer.
Well, here's the thing.
He's good guy.
About Auburn, and I'm going to make one more comment about you, Rob, and it's because I love you. You were so Auburn, because Auburn could go 1-11, but it's a successful season if you beat Alabama.
Good luck. Good luck if you're 1-11, 1-10, and you get that win.
But if you did, forget the other 10 losses. Beating Alabama is what counts.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is with Alabama fans. Baseball, you could go 6-55, but as long as 2 of those wins or 3 of those wins were in the weekend series with Alabama, it was a successful season.
Yeah, the thing is, and it's with that way with all these schools. Living in Memphis, you talk about a melting pot. In a couple of weeks from today, Paul Feinbaum's going to be coming to speak to the Touchdown Club of Memphis. They have a spring speaker series. It's going to be great. They're going to have Greg McElroy, Cole Kubelik, Paul Feinbaum, some other really good speakers. It's something really cool about this time of year. I like Easy Boys. That's the name. Perry Mason is a great name. By the way, the follow-up Ironsides wasn't bad either. Franz, I got to ask you now about Texas A&M. Casey Goodjohn watches this show every day out in Claiborne, Texas. Aggie fan. I know a lot of Aggies. Love their fans, love their spirit. Don't understand those cheers. I just don't understand them. They're mystic. Yeah, they are. They're mystic. But they're loyal and they're passionate. Mike Elko, the words you hear about him more than any other, or the phrase, the term, the descriptive adjective is he's really a smart guy. Let's talk about what you see happening out in College Station this year with A&M.
Somewhere between 6-6 and 8-4. They're going to be what they were going to be with Jimbo. I mean, Jimbo would have had them 7-5, 6-6, 7-5, 8-4. Yeah. Mike Elko is going to have them 6-6, 7-5, 8-4. Count on it. A lot of talent. Mike Elko's a smart guy. Jimbo Fisher may talk like a hick, but the boy is brilliant. I mean, how dumb can you be to walk away with $77 million to be paid not to coach?
Yeah, not bad.
You cannot be dumb and walk away with $77 million. I realize that that's not quite as much as you're paying Brendan. I mean, it's close, but not quite as much.
78. So
I know
more. We bumped it up.
Yeah,
I wear the ascot.
But it's crazy, Franz. You're right.
It's the incentive bonus, Brendan.
Yeah. He said I get more if I wear an ascot. So
an ascot.
Hamilton, he says a bonus.
Yeah.
I've ordered it.
Or he wears his Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company.
I did wear that one.
On the Historic Square, the nightcap shirt, which is, I think that's a Jack Daniels bottle with a nice shot glass. But let's think about. I do too. I love it, and I'm gonna throw another one, Franz.
You need a hat though.
Texas A&M. You do need a cowboy hat. Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher is I don't think he's a bad coach. I know. No. I watched him since he was about 27 when he came to Auburn from Samford with Terry Bowden. He can flat out recruit, and he can coach the position. I just honestly, and I'm always honest, I don't ever say something just to curry favor with people. You can't give somebody a guaranteed $75 million contract and that not affect them mentally. That's why I say this all the time. Incentive-based trust, age-banded trust. That's the only way you're going to make NIL work. All right, Franz, Texas and Oklahoma. Buddy and I had a special guest who's a regular on the show on Fridays, Ken Capps, great writer out in Texas, Football Writers Association of America, talking about Texas and a lot of things you may or may not know about Texas. And Brendan, in that 30 minutes that we did it in, we barely scratched the surface. There's so much to talk about with them.
Oh.
Texas and Oklahoma, guys. Which of those two? I think it's Texas. Do you think, Franz, is most, prepared to come into the SEC and win a bunch of games from the get-go, as they say down in Alachua County?
Texas will be a national championship contender this year.
Yeah.
I think personally that we have 3 for sure contenders in the SEC. Texas, Georgia, and Ole Miss. Ole Miss not anybody who is short selling Ole Miss is nuts. Lane has got it going, and you gotta love a guy that instead of a spring game has a hot dog eating contest, a dunk contest, coaches tug of wars, etc. He made it fun for everybody. It was an experience that people love.
Well, now that'll either be awesome or that'll come back and bite them in the ass.
It'll be
one of those
awesome.
things.
I love
It'll
it.
Yeah,
The
I know.
thing
I
that-
think it's awesome now, but I'm saying if he goes out and does a not so good season, they'll be like, well, look, he didn't even take it seriously at the spring game.
Here's the reason: is he said we're going to have a serious practice on Friday. They had a scrimmage. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean they had an all-out scrimmage, and Saturday, they just had fun.
Yeah.
So,
Well, friends, you were making some great comments last night. I like going back and forth with you because it's fun because we text all the time, and you're cerebral like Doug Dean. Both of y'all are, and I like it. Franz, don't you think our tackling was better than it's been in 5 years? Yeah. See, those are the kind of what I love about our audience, and I cannot tell you, Brendan and I and Franz and Buddy. I'm going to be on Buddy's show tonight. Thank you so much for inviting me on there. Love interacting with all these fans because I'm one of them. Okay. And I was texting yesterday with a friend about going out, to media days in Dallas, July 15th to the 18th. Hey,
can we get that in the budget, please?
Yeah, we got to
want to go with you and Franz.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It is, and Brendan, Franz would agree. There's going to be this giant billboard on I-20 when you come into Dallas. It says in orange and white, Texas welcomes the SEC. In the bottom right-hand corner, it'll be the SEC logo. I mean, it's gonna be fun out there. But I'm gonna tell you, I spend a lot of time in a lot of these different schools. We're gonna be doing the show the first weekend of October for the Tennessee-Arkansas game up in Fayetteville. Jim McClellan and his wife Pat want us to come up there, and who we were with them in Little Rock last week to meet with them and some people. Really looking forward to going to these. I love going to these different campuses.
Well,
folks,
I have an idea for you, Rob.
Yes,
I think we should all sit down and have a bucket list of the SEC schools. Who knows what's going to happen to the SEC.
They're all worthy.
So
all
like
worthy.
the Tennessee Navy to the Grove. Like you should go around. We should have video of you experiencing all the different things at these different schools, right?
Well,
so
you know what?
And we'll make YouTube videos out of it. I think it'll be great.
It's so much fun. I remember the night after the night I graduated. No, the night after I graduated from Auburn, driving through Gainesville on the way down to Clearwater, one of my fraternity brothers' house from Auburn, and we went fishing out in the Keys. Went out to Key West, and his brother was assistant DA in Pinellas County. That was a wild. By the way, folks, you got to understand Gator culture. And I don't know, y'all forgotten more than I know. I've spent a lot of time in Florida, mainly the Panhandle, LA. But God, when you get on Alligator Alley, don't run out of gas. I mean, you are in big trouble.
Franz, you'll attest to this. I will. If you actually run out of gas in Florida, on 75, the Turnpike, whatever it may be, if you have car trouble, which I did this weekend going to Stella's soccer game, not running out of gas, I had car trouble. Road Ragers is free, and they will come and give you gas. They will fix your car. And it's like, I think Star 36. I mean, they're there in like 5 minutes. They pull up at
they will change your tire.
Change your tire. Like, it's sponsored by State Farm. I have no association to the show, but but I'm telling you, no matter what, Franz, right? It is the greatest free service ever, and they're there in like 5 minutes.
Now I got to tell you guys a story, and Brendan can attest that this is true. We somehow or another in 2008 on our way. We're going to Knoxville. We stay in Atlanta because of the fact that it's just
it's me, you, Buddy, and our photographer, right?
Mark McLeod, Tim Casey, John Finneran, and me.
Casey. Oh.
All of us loaded up in a van. We stay in it. We're going to stay in Atlanta. Get up the next day. Drive up to Knoxville, come back that same night, do a show in our hotel at the Hilton.
What year is this?
This is 2008.
Yeah, so we're doing live streaming shows in 2008, audio only, off hotel Wi-Fi's inside the business rooms. If we can get I would literally pirate the internet out of the run cables out of the windows so we could get enough to stream a live show back to our website. Let me tell you, nobody was doing that. Nobody.
No, we get up somehow or another. We wind up in deliverance country. We are back roading it, and it was by a total accident because
Carmen's like recalculating.
And
syntax error.
Anyway, Brendan makes a U-turn, hits a curb, and we have a flat tire. Before we can even get out of the car, hardly, up walks this guy whose car is in basic Bondo. The doors held together with bungee. I'm not kidding you. And he says, I'll change that tire.
I'll change that tire for you.
How much you want for it?
He didn't know. He had an upper register sort of missing tooth sort of voice.
Or heavens. Yeah. He had 4 teeth, Brendan. Come on, give the boy credit. He'd done good dental work.
You're up in Cleveland and LJ in North Georgia, up near the Chattooga River.
Wait, Cleveland's going to be in this picture, but here we are. We come. Only got to know where I know where Lake Placid is. Lake Placid is where
I know where it is too.
Dana Kirk was from. Anyway, we get in there, and this is on the river where Deliverance was filmed.
Chattooga.
The guy changes our tire, and we say we got to have a tire because all we have is the donut. Guy says, "Come on down to Bubba's place." Bubba's place. So we follow him. We go in the car, and the car is still running. They got the jack underneath it, and this guy's got a cigarette that's got an ash this long hanging.
Yeah, like a big Pink Floyd ash, just like and like it's talent that he just keeps that thing balanced as you're just watching it, like he just mesmerized.
And the car is still running.
Yeah.
The car is still running. We're still in the car, and he's going to change it. Yeah. And all of a sudden, he gets the jack out there, and he looks and says, "I ain't got no tires that fit your van."
Hey, you're lucky you lived.
Wait, it gets better. Yeah. We then drive to follow the river to Cleveland, where we get the tire changed.
Yes.
In Cleveland, make it up to Tennessee in time for the game. Okay. Barely. We are there in time for the game. We get out of the car and we go walking as a group, and I mean, we have ourselves a group, and Brendan's carrying equipment. Brendan looks like a Sherpa. Version. He's loaded up with stuff.
I know that feeling.
Brendan's the only guy that I know that has a backpack that fits in the front, and he has one on the back, and he's carrying gear.
Yeah, with a tripod on my shoulder.
And this guy looks at us and he says, "Y'all from Florida?" We went, "Yes, we are."
Yeah. And
he says, "Can we trade coaches with you?" That was Philip Fulmer's last year.
Yeah, 08 was a fateful year, and I mean, but there's nothing. The road trips are worthy of stories themselves. I mean, that we've all been on. That's what I love, and I like. Now look, Perry Mason.
LA. It is. But when they're sitting there in the back seats, the media road trips are a little different because they're back there clacking away. Yeah. As we're trying to send stories off, in 2008 with crap internet through the backseat of a van, so
that's almost
so it's not like we're stopping and we had a crazy party and we did this and that and all that. Like we're literally trying to get to and from and report and all that stuff. So we get done with those things. It's like you're maxed. You're done.
Well, you are. And think, no, look, Perry, I agree. LA, lower Alabama. It's not Florida. I mean, I'm talking about, I love the state of Florida. I've been from, Pensacola down to Key West and in between.
Pensacola's not in Florida.
I know, but I'm saying when you once you get over, I guess you turn where I've got some clients in Spring Hill, Florida, and that's not too far from the Steinhatchee River. I've had several clients that lived on the Steinhatchee River, which is a spring-fed river.
You go scalloping there every year. I've been.
Well, what's cool about Florida, people don't realize, is it's one of the top 5 cattle producing states in America. People forget about the University of Florida College of Agriculture It's a
The best in
big
the
damn.
country.
It's a
Best in the
big damn
country.
deal. Like the one at Auburn where they eradicated the boll weevil. But also Auburn also gets credit, much to their chagrin, for introducing kudzu for erosion control. But not too bad. It's part of the state flag in Mississippi, kudzu. But what I love is people don't realize when University of Florida fans, rank and file, are no different than fans in these other SEC schools. They're not all from Naples and West Palm Beach and all. There's some, but they are as red-blooded, red meat and potatoes as it gets. I've just that's my take because I've been to games down there, but I've seen them at road games all over the place. What you're seeing in the SEC now is kind of a reset, and we're going to fix this, guys. I think the 44,000 or whatever at the Swamp Saturday, I think it's a sign that they want this thing to work with Billy Napier. And if the only thing you can say about a coach is he's not that charismatic, well, do recruits like his pitch? If they do, that's all that matters. Exactly. I mean, I'm looking at it. So look at Bobby Petrino and Sam Pittman at Arkansas. Okay, well, Petrino, if he's successful, they all stay. I think Sam Pittman, I talked to some Arkansas guys last year that were telling me kind of, well, he's done a good job, and he is stabilizing Florida, but, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to take us, Arkansas, if he's going to be able to take us too much further. Well, you bring in Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino got a standing ovation from the Touchdown Club in Little Rock a couple of years ago. Is it not in our DNA to forgive? I mean, come on. I just look, if he's focused and he gets it done, forget about that. But I tell you, the fans of the SEC, and you go back 100 years ago, remember, Franz, these great literary scholars, you might, Brendan, the fugitive poets. They wrote about the agrarian South, and as we move toward urbanization, warehousing people in these big cities, we're going to drift away from our roots. We now you're seeing people pouring out of big cities, going to small towns again. That's the SEC footprint. Texas is a big state. Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Austin is now the 10th or 12th largest city in America. Most of Texas is rural. Those are the SEC fans. And
Texas is huge.
It's a ginormous state.
It's so big. If you've ever driven through it, people don't understand. I've done the trip from California, the southern California to Florida.
Hey,
half of
folks,
that's Texas.
It is farther from Houston to El Paso than it is from Jacksonville, Florida to San Antonio.
Yeah. It's just and I remember the first time I went out to Texas, I was 14. We drove down to Mexico to the boy. We were bird watching, my dad and I. And I'll never forget going from Corpus Christi and then Robstown to Brownsville. I was like, that's pretty cool. Robstown, Brownsville. But Oklahoma, that's another one. We're not talking a lot about Oklahoma. That is an unbelievable state. It is as red as it gets. Those people out there, and I am so sorry and sad that Toby Keith is no longer with us, because how fun, but his legacy will live on forever. But that's Oklahoma, man. Those people are as hardcore. If you've and we've all spent time in Oklahoma, that when you cross I-40 into Oklahoma from Arkansas, the first sign you see on the side of the interstate is "Welcome to 10 Killer State Recreation Area." I mean, it's just a cool state. But anyway, about out of time. But I tell you, the fans of the SEC are agrarians. They're tied to the land. They love the land. They love their schools first before any team. The fact that those teams play for their schools, that makes the love even stronger. But that's why I'm telling you, NIL, the real NIL is the guy or the gal that sticks it out, hangs in there with their teammates, doesn't quit, gets their degree, and for the rest of their lives, they can always come back to Athens or Gainesville or Fayetteville or Auburn or Tuscaloosa or Baton Rouge or wherever, Oxford, Starkville. And those people will say, hey, man, You never quit. That's right now you're getting a temporary couple $100,000, which is gone like that. Y'all know it's being spent because kids are now asking, hey, today's tax day, by the way, April 15th. Hey,
tomorrow is all hell breaks loose.
The portal reopens. Yeah.
The portal
and this is
reopens, and we have a double all hell breaks loose because the basketball portal is going strong and chaotic. Football, is going to be even worse tomorrow than it's been. And the one thing good that's going to come out of this, guys, mark my words, is that this is going to make people understand the NCAA is dead. The buzzards are starting to fly down and pick its bones.
Yeah.
The NCAA is dead. There's going to have to be a new organization. And the only way we're going to get around the NIL and everything like this, you have to start a new organization that has its own rules, and it has to provide economic benefit to everybody that is different than what they see now. Because if you join on the premise that we're going to beat NIL this way, you're going to get killed in the courts.
Yeah.
But if you can sit there and say, we have 16 teams in the SEC, for example, and you look at all of college football and you say, okay, we're going to have 90 in Division I. And these 90 teams are going to benefit economically. This is why this money from the $1.3 billion that they're going to get from ESPN, they're going to have to find equitable sharing in this so that Western Walla Walla can have its money, so that James Madison and Marshall and Georgia Southern can have their money, because if they don't, it won't work.
Well, and I see this in my practice, the investment side, the Green Bay Packers model. I know people that are Packers fans, and they show those certificates that show they have X number of shares in the Packers. The populist model where you get people investing. And I love the comment by this Perry Mason, because I live in Memphis, 1.2 million people surrounded by farmland. And I'm around farmers. I work with them. I have them as friends, as clients. I know the people that work these farms. They work 18, 20 hours. They got lights on the tractors now, DVD players in there. They got stereos. They're out there nonstop. They get it done. That's the kind of commitment that it's going to take to fix college athletics. But I tell you what I see happening. I really see this going on. You're going to start seeing dividend returns paid out to fans. They're going to find a way, if they're smart, to say, okay, for all you're doing, investing in our athletic programs, start showing a way for a dividend. Wealthy people, my clients, invest. What's in it for me? Look at the tax implications. It's a 501c3. The number one thing, college, the NCAA is a voluntary organization. So when you're a member, you have to comply with investigations and all like that. Well, where we are going, the only rules that apply, says our resident attorney for Sidelines, Jack Turner, my attorney, he says it's the antitrust laws. And you're right, friends. The courts will kill you. You cannot deny people the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Ain't going to happen. But you're going to start seeing the fans you better take care of the fan that gives you $100 a year, just like you do the big fan, because you never know when he's going to have a relative or someone that comes into some money. You better treat people, the old golden rule, like you want to be treated yourself. If you've got a bunch of kids on your team that are always just there for the money, it's like having a business and you're so caught up in the money, you forget about the process and what it takes to get there. Greatest advice I've ever been given by my mother ever was, don't punch the elevator to go to the 8th floor to your teacher. When I was at Auburn that time, I said, why not? She goes, take the stairs. You'll remember the journey it took to get you to the top. Hey, Franz, unbelievable stuff. Doug Dean, Brendan Martin.
Well, I just wanted to hear Franz's response to that, because I know Franz, I talk to him all the time too. So I was like,
he's a patriot.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's a lot to that as far as implications of, I like the idea of being able to invest and get a dividend.
Yeah.
But does that model work, Franz?
I don't think so. I think they're going to. The only way they're going to get the big money on this stuff, which they need, is to be able to find a way to make it a write-off. And when you have, if it's a write-off, then it works. I think the greatest fear of college athletics is that we go to a flat tax system where everybody pays the same thing, because then people start losing write-offs for their big donations.
Yeah.
You're going to have a brand new organization. The players are going to have to be employees, so that and you're going to be able to say, okay, you are a freshman, you're going to make, say, $40,000. Okay, you're a sophomore, you make 60, 80. If you make it 4 years through the program, you get $100,000. You're going to have insurance benefits on them, and the insurance benefits you're going to have it like Cobra, which Rob, you know about.
Yeah.
Once you leave or lose your job, you can carry on your benefits. Now they're going to have to find a way to make it free, because catastrophic injuries happen in sports, and it's not just football. You think about these little girls in gymnastics, the risks that they take flying off of a balance beam that's 42 inches high, that's like this wide, and look at the stuff they do and the potential for injuries there. So there's a lot that's got to go into this. It's not just as simple as leaving the NCAA, but we've got to start the process now.
Yeah, I agree.
4 years from now will be too late.
No, I agree with you, but I do think, because of my profession as a financial advisor, in addition to being in the media, and that is this: you're going to start seeing private equity and venture capital get involved in college athletics.
Oh, yeah.
When they do that, that's where your dividend. And I'm not talking about monstrous dividends, but getting something back for what you give in to a program. What you're going to start see happening is, sure, since October 15th of 2018, the portal's been the law of the land. And everything you've said is spot on, but I understand about building a culture of loyalty. I'm surrounded by unbelievable people. I mean, Buddy told me for a long time about Brendan. Now look who we got. Brendan Martin's our executive producer. I mean, I won the lottery on that one, okay? And we got you. Surround yourself with great people. How do you do that? You treat them like you want to be treated yourself. But you know what these kids are screaming for, these 18-year-old kids? They're screaming for discipline. They're screaming for somebody to coach them. Because you know what I've always said? You know, I always remember this. You know, why are you so tough on this guy? Or why are you so tough on me, coach? Because I love you. And when I quit being tough on you, you better be worried, because that means that I've lost interest. We're going to turn this thing around. We're going to get a commissioner. And I'll just say this like I say a lot. The NCAA is like this. The respirator's on, the priest is in the room, and they're calling the kinfolks to get a good look. But you've got to find the way to make it profitable, tax benefits and everything for the donors. But you've got to get thousands of people, grassroots support, because if you just got a cabal of wealthy donors, they're the only ones making
it's not
things
sustainable.
Happen. It's not sustainable. Exactly.
But
donor fatigue is real.
Why I like your idea, Rob, about the dividends and some version of that is that I think a lot of people are on the fence, per se, if they want to, donate or give money or somehow be involved. I think the buy-in and saying, hey, you know what? There's a little something in this for me, or like a tax break. But I like the incentive of you feeling like you're investing in the team. And I think that even the marketing and the mental side of that, I think would be how you create that groundswell to get that movement going, because that's like, hey, I'll give this. If I think that's how these things go viral. I mean, I know how things go viral. Yeah. And then you get that. And I think that's what's missing about all of these collectives. And I've said this from the very beginning, and Franz and I have talked about this. My first hire, and I've been a media director for big entities and things like that. My first hire would have been a media director.
Yeah.
And I'd have a plan to really market this and to build it out, because that is really a missing piece in a lot of these collectives. You should be marketing, and that media person should also head up a media team that funnels kids through and teaches them how to talk and be on camera and all these things.
Yeah.
You know, and I haven't really seen a lot of that. And I think
Yeah.
that's the
look, one thing I know this in one of the collectives at Auburn. If you are a donor and you're a member and you're given X thousand a year, you are assigned like 5 student athletes. You and a group of people. You teach them how to dress, how to look people in the eye, how to go on an interview and successfully interview and present yourself. Hey, listen, financial literacy, it's number one thing. You can come from a really wealthy family and someone dropped $10 million in your lap when you're a freshman in college, you're going to have problems. That's what we got to start treating this just like we would a business. Everybody calls it a business. We got to start acting like it and follow through. Let's get smart people that understand about accountability, because when you start getting a dividend, if you're a fan of Florida, you pick the school, okay? I know we went long, but you've got to be able to say, okay, start winning, I get a dividend. That's going to be fun to watch. Look, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. We have open debate. Franz and Brendan, free speech, the First Amendment is alive and well on Sidelines. Follow us all the time. Tell your friends and family and neighbors. Great stuff. We value every one of our viewers and what you have to say. So keep the comments
check out
coming.
Franz Beard on GatorbaitMedia.com. He literally writes like 4 or 5 times a day.
Show prep.
Maybe 20 times a day.
It's show prep for me.
And it's all really good. It's all really good. So you got to check out.
True grit journalism, okay? Reading is like lifting weights with your brain. Get stronger, people. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thoughts of the day, which is like you said, it's really
thoughts.
No, it's
incredible.
It is incredible. So
I love
check
it.
out
the
last thing I put in there today. My one final pithy thought today, and when I'm talking about how a kid can get in the transfer portal. He's just played in the Mini Pearls Biscuit Bowl, and he goes into the portal. They give him $50,000 to come up front, whip out money, with more to come when he transfers. The coach doesn't like him at the new place because he paints his toenails with polka dots on them. The coach
I do that,
and he gets his feelings hurt. So then he says, "Okay, I'm transferring again." At the end of spring, he transfers again to a new coach that looks at those toenails and says not that there's anything wrong with that, and says, "Come on," and gives him another $50,000. So he has gone to 2 different schools without ever playing a down.
Yeah.
And next fall will have played, will have been at his 3rd school.
Yeah.
On the 2nd school on the field, 3rd school since then. And then, okay, at the end of this year, after playing in the Hank Kimball, County Agents Bowl, he says, "I'm transferring again because I got 1 more year of eligibility." You don't think that can happen? Under our present system, it will.
It can, and we got to stop the musical chairs because eventually you are going to be caught without a chair. Great show, everybody. Love the freedom of expression and thought. Thanks to all of our listeners and viewers. We really appreciate you. We'll see you in the morning. We're out of here, folks. Have a great day.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal and the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org Become a partner and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.